5 braking mistakes that are destroying lap time on F125. These laps and technique, they're from real PSGO F2 and F3 drivers. I'm not showing laps where I'm faking or exaggerating mistakes, like my friend Ryan Grubb.
And through the last corner, we actually get a snap as well.
These laps are from FVR drivers, and we were the one of 4 community teams to qualify for PSGO E-Series, and we're going to be competing against 6 F1 esports teams like McLaren, Williams, Ferrari Esports in the upcoming weeks. So be sure to check that out if you want. So the mistakes you're seeing here are mistakes that even some of the fastest drivers can make. So if you're watching this, you probably are making one of these mistakes, or it's something you can improve upon. Something to understand is that different games and different cars within the games have all unique driving styles. So the F125 braking style is unique to any other game, largely because there's a lot of front grip, and this game it's one of the fastest cars of any game that you could be driving. So everything happens very fast, and there's a lot of front grip, and there's some flicking involved in the wheel. So the first mistake you could be making is heavily overlapping the throttle and brake under braking. So this is when you're on full throttle, you're getting to the braking zone, and then you get 100% on the brakes. Some drivers are having a tendency to have both inputs be at 100% or be very close to 100% at the same time. So examples here, you're on throttle 100%, then you're braking 100%, and if you stop the video or stop any time on your laps, you'll see that there's a time where you're 100% on throttle, 100% on brake. That's no good, because that means you're not going to be fully utilizing your braking potential, because you'll be braking 100%, but then you'll also be giving throttle and driving power through the axle. So yeah, obviously your braking force is not going to be as maximum as it could be. There are different levels to this. So some examples, some drivers I've seen are doing this extremely. Some drivers are kind of slightly doing this. Well, when you look at the F1 esports drivers, you see that as they are coming off the brake or coming off the throttle, they're slowly getting onto the brake. So if you freeze the frames at certain times, you'll see that usually that those numbers, if you take the percent throttle, percent brake, they'll add up to 100%. And that's kind of where you want to be. You want to be, as you come off the throttle, you want to be getting on the brakes an equal amount. Another mistake that I've seen, under braking is that when you're at 100% brake and you're throwing off the brakes, it's touching the throttle a little bit. That says a little bit to do with game configuration and pedal configuration. So, here, example of what you're 100% on the brakes and you're just slightly tapping onto the throttle. This has to do because you have too low of a minimum force, or it's something you need to physically think about of getting your foot completely off the throttle. It's easy to kind of get excited and start touching the throttle. So a couple ways to fix this: obviously the mental side or physical side of not touching the throttle. Add a little bit of dead zone in F125 throttle settings, or adjust your minimum force in whether it's Fantech, Camus, Moza. Press the throttle a little bit, a few percent, then press the minimum. So that means when you press that force again, it's not going to register any input. Another mistake that I sometimes see is drivers not braking 100% fast enough on F125. This lap here is from F124, but same thing. This game you can get 100% on the brakes very quickly. It's not like iRacing where you don't never want to brake 100%, or you have anti-lock braking system. When your nose says 100% braking as fast as you can. So this is an FER driver versus Jano Atmir. Yeah, when you look at it full speed, they look kind of similar. But if you really kind of zoom down or slow it down frame by frame, looking at Jano Atmir, 0.1 tenths to get from 0 to 100% braking. FER driver, 2.5 times that, 2.5 tenths. So yeah, that's gonna, just being quicker on the brakes, it could allow you to brake, a few meters faster if you just brake a little bit faster to 100%. So tip number 4, a mistake of trailing too slowly off the brakes. Here's an example where it's because of a lot of these tracks you can flick the wheel in so quickly that when you flick the wheel in, you want to be getting off the brakes fairly quickly. So the braking shape that you want is kind of I would call it a drop braking shape, as opposed to a smooth trail braking shape as you see in a lot of other games. An idea to think about is something called string theory. I know other YouTubers have talked about this. When you kind of imagine that your steering wheel is a string attached from your steering wheel to your brake pedal. As you move your steering wheel turning in, it lifts the force off your brake. So right when you're in a straight line, you can brake 100%. But as you start turning the wheel in, you start lifting the braking force off the brakes. But if you flick the wheel in, that means you need to have a accompanying force on the brakes coming off. So that's how you get this drop braking, where you get a period of 100% braking, then a sudden drop off the brakes, and then you're kind of modulating on this 10 or 20% or 30% braking, kind of as you're kind of approaching the apex. Here you see a video of the driver doing it correctly, hard on the brakes, then getting off the brakes very quickly, then modulating as it's coming in close to the apex. Again, when you get close to the apex, you're still not increasing the steering lock because you flicked it in so hard that then you can kind of just keep modulating, and then obviously when you're at the maximum rotation point or the apex, then you lift off and get on throttle. Another mistake that I've seen is fully lifting or trailing off the brakes and then getting it back on them. So here's a lap of me actually driving. This was at Austria. So if you don't brake hard enough or brake 100% for long enough, you're going to get to the apex and realize, oh, you have too much speed. Then you're going to have to tap the brakes again. So here's an example. Yeah, 100% braking. I don't do a good job of drop braking. I'm kind of slow getting off the trailing brake. I'm also kind of a little smooth on the steering. I gotta be more aggressive there. But again, I'm at the apex and I need to kind of reapply some braking just because I've carried too much speed in. So yeah, you don't want to be getting off the brakes and getting back on the brakes. You want 100% off the brakes and then you'll get that 10 to 20% modulation. Another thing I've seen is a driver doing kind of like I call it kind of stair stepping on the brakes. So this could be a heavy braking zone. This is a Miami heavy braking zone, getting off the brakes, maybe 20%, and then getting back on again. So you don't want to kind of be on and off on the brakes. It could be the case if you think you're going to be locking up or something. You want to be 100% on the brakes and then maybe slightly come down on the pressure, but not fully get off the brakes, from 100 to 50 back to 70% brake modulation. So, hopefully these tips are useful. Again, these are from real drivers. We're not faking any of these mistakes. Getting team telemetry installed and getting that live telemetry is going to make seeing some of these a lot easier, especially the brake shape, especially any slight inputs that you may be doing that you're not realizing. Highly recommend that. I have a video on how to set it up, how to install it, what to look for. So go check that out if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching. See ya. Bye.